And one time we were getting it on, and Dave was high, and he reaches over and he gets the Gideon Bible and starts reading the Bible. Let's get out of here. You really know how to kill a high.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Different Leaf, a podcast for new and experienced cannabis consumers. I'm Brit Smith. Make sure you're following Different Leaf on social media and check out differentleaf.com to explore all the issues of our gorgeous cannabis magazine. This week, we're going to be talking to one of the world's living legends, iconic burlesque dancer and longtime cannabis advocate, Bambi Jones. A native of Holyoke, Massachusetts, Bambi Jones was born Doris Shirley Roselle in the early 1930s as part of the so-called silent generation. But Bambi Jones has been anything but silent about her support for legalizing weed. She started dancing as a kid during the Great Depression, earning tips from workers on break in Holyoke to help her family make ends meet. At the age of 17, just after World War II, Bambi moved to upstate New York and started dancing burlesque. There she was scouted by a former Rockette to perform at a nightclub in Chicago, and that's when Bambi's booming career really took off, traveling internationally as the original American burlesque dancer. Bambi was even nicknamed the Panther Girl because of her cat-like sensuality on stage. Now, at 90 years old, Bambi Jones has been given the 2021 Living Legend Award by the Burlesque Hall of Fame in Las Vegas. And she is still up there shaking her thing on a regular basis. One of her recent personas to take on the stage is one where she dresses up as a cannabis leaf and advocates for legalizing marijuana. And since she dresses up in a tan bodysuit laden with pot leaves, she has earned herself the title the Fairy Kush Mother.
I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but yesterday I was in an antique store. 3 people tried to buy me. I'll tell you something about old age. Getting old is like smoking dope. You feel good, but you forget what the hell you're doing.
Bambi has also been forging relationships with young burlesque dancers for decades now. And her longtime advocacy for legalizing weed has kept old and new fans coming back. In this interview, you'll also hear a little bit from Bambi's step-grandson, Montel Williams Jr., yes, that Montel Williams Jr., who she affectionately calls Gooch. So hang tight and please enjoy today's conversation with legendary burlesque dancer and weed advocate, Miss Bambi Jones. We heard about you not just as a Massachusetts native, but as a cannabis advocate. Can you tell me a little bit about your life as a dancer, and then how you got involved in the world of cannabis?
Yes. Well, in my dancing career, as you know, the show business, they were always in trouble because of cannabis. It was a horrible, scary thing. A lot of my friends, in fact, one of my best friends, a dancer named Candy Bar, at one time she got 10 years for a roach, just a roach in her possession. And she was appearing in New Orleans. It was Mardi Gras time, and the town was loaded. And Candy Bar was working in at the show bar across the street from where I was appearing with Callantan with a few others. And there was a line around the block to see Candy Bar. And I thought, oh, this is great. This is great. Next thing, the lines across the street break up. People started walking away. I said, what happened? Well, Candy Bar lived in Texas, and she was under, she had a restraining order. She couldn't go anywhere because her case was coming up, her trial. And they learned that she was in New Orleans, in Louisiana. They came and took her from the dressing room in the show bar and brought her back to Texas. And this was for a little roach. So many people in the business that were hurt, a lot of comics. I remember I was working with this funny burlesque comic, Tommy Moraft. And in the hotel, he came to my room and he said, they were just in my room and looking for weed. He said, and I kept telling them, why don't you look behind that radio? Because he had one of those big old fashioned radios. This was in the early 50s. Look
Mhm.
behind the radio. There may be something there. Or look over here, look over there. And then he said to me, and you know what? Bambi, I was sweating. He said, because I had a half a pound behind the radio. He said, yeah. And then this other funny comic, Dave Gardner, Flat Get It Gardner, hilarious. He was like Andy Griffith of the South. He was funnier than, and Andy was a comic in the South. But but Dave used to do such crazy stuff, and he was always high, and he had to be careful. Um, but
Yeah.
one time, uh, people knocking on my door. I opened the door and there's a couple of soldiers in uniform. I said, yes. And they said, well, you were supposed to be at the recruiting office this morning. I said, for what? They said, Dave signed me up for the service
What?
because he'd get high
Oh
and do
my
crazy
god.
shit. Yeah. I mean, you never knew what, you know, and one time we were getting it on and Dave was high, and he reaches over and he gets the Gideon Bible and starts reading the Bible. Let's get out of here. You really know how to kill a high. He was supposed to go on the Jack Paar show, and
Mm.
they caught him with a cigarette. So he couldn't go. He couldn't go across the state line. That was the worst thing to have was weed.
So your legacy in the world of burlesque is very much alive and well today. Tell me more about that.
Friends of mine from Denver who moved here, they do a show on 420, and it's
Mhm.
the Mile High show. And I was supposed to appear last year. I did a couple little videos for them in my costume, but they're doing a show now called Tickle Pink, and they're
Mm.
utilizing a costume of mine that's a pink with a big picture hat and the pink umbrella and the gown, and they're going to do a back video while the young lady does an homage dedication to me
Wow.
doing my old number. But these are cannabis people. Burlesque is so alive, so kicking ass all over the world. I have a young lady, a friend from Finland, Lulu DeVille, who's appearing around New York now, and she has my whole showgirl photo tattooed on her arm,
Oh my
the
goodness.
whole
You're such an
body.
icon, Bambi.
I said, you know what? With all the assholes in my life, men that say I would die for you, they wouldn't put a pinprick. But somebody like Lulu DeVille gets my whole body picture on her arm. Our museum is
Yeah.
great. It used to be in Helendale, California. Now it's moved to downtown. And at the opening, the mayor, Goodman, Mrs. Goodman, she was at the grand opening, and they said, well, Mayor, I smoke to your health when I'm with you. I smoke to your health when I'm alone. I drink to your health so often that I'm damn near ruining my own. She said, I love it. I love it. I says, well, welcome to the sisterhood of the traveling G-string, because that's what we are. In fact, I went to one place, I had my G-string as a mask with a plant on it.
Did they let you in? They didn't
Oh,
turn you away?
yeah. Oh, yeah, they know who I am. They say, "Okay, let her here we go."
I bet they
Uh,
know who you are.
I love it.
Now you're inducted into the Burlesque Hall of Fame as the Living Legend Award for 2021. And they mentioned in their bio of you that you were the fairy Kush mother now. So that's
Yes,
really your whole new your
persona.
new moniker, your new
Yeah.
persona.
And you gotta have a gimmick. So my last gimmick here, my last show, I was Bambi Jones, the fairy Kush mother. And my gimmick
Mhm.
was I came out and you saw the photo with all the weed
Yeah.
and I opened with, oh, I hope I can say this. I said, I've got to warn you. I mean, Vegas, I mean, we're legal now, but we're not legal because the hotels are federal and so it's everything
Yeah.
everywhere. You just don't know. So I said, so please be careful. I said, and if you're out there driving around, I said, and you get caught with a joint in your mouth, it better have a set of balls on the end of it or you're going to get 10 years like my girl Candy. So I said, you got to be so careful, so
Yeah.
careful. And so I dedicated my show and my gimmick to Candy Bar. I said, we're free at last. But no, we're still not free.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy.
And you've seen a lot of change though over the years, from the time when people could come into dressing rooms and take people and haul them back across state lines to now where we have, cannabis events and expos and people can grow up to
Right.
12 plants in their home. You must have seen so much change. What was it like experiencing that?
Oh, well, my ex-son-in-law, Montel Williams, is in the cannabis business.
Oh, he's your ex-son-in-law? Wow.
Yeah, well, and my grandson, Montel, that's helping me now, I was his I was his nanny for years, and now he's my caregiver. And he's an MMA fighter, and one of his
Wow.
sponsors is Fleur. It's a Fleur, and it's the organic grow house in Vegas on Hacienda. And I go over there. I'm a guest in the grow house. It's an interesting, beautiful place. And so they sponsor him, and he gets the best there is. So we do
Wow.
little shtick on on oh, there's so many. The world just goes by so fast. Not YouTube, but another thing that Gooch and I do little shticks about the weed.
What's it like for you to go into a big room and see all those plants like that in a grow house?
Oh, it's beautiful. Like the candy, it's
Yeah.
heaven. It's just it's just beautiful. And all the little yummies and the we get to test taste a lot of the products, which
Oh
is
my gosh. So
nice.
that's one of the perks of your job
That's
now, I'm
what
sure.
yeah. Yep.
So you're pretty active in the cannabis scene out there. What's some of your favorite things to smoke? Some of your favorite things to eat, enjoy in cannabis?
Gooch, where? Hey, Gooch, I need your help. My provider. What are some of my favorite my gummies or all those the edibles and the shroom chocolate?
Oh, you like shroom chocolate? Right on. Yeah, my
Yeah,
friend gave me some of that. Yeah, my
isn't
friend gave
it
me some of
good?
that not too long ago. I'm scared to try it.
No, try it. You'll like it.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm scared to try it. I think it's because I don't know how much of it to try.
Well, I just take a couple of little squares and it's
What does
nice.
it do for you? What do you use it for?
It it just mellows me out. I mean, because there's not a lot happening, but there's a lot going on in my head, which is great.
How do people in your generation react to your advocacy for cannabis?
They get it, but they're scared, and I'm
Hmm.
still a little frightened. I tell my grandson, be careful when you're driving around town because, they still can nail you.
What's it been like for you to see it more prevalently used at like parties and clubs and in social situations, and for that stigma to have sort of decreased over time?
But I'm still, I'm still a little leery. It's not being able to just enjoy it. I mean, I'm from the old school and I'm always looking over my shoulder. You know?
Yeah. So before I let you go, I just want to know, lastly, if there's anything that you would like to say to folks who are also in industries like burlesque that have their stigma, or maybe comedy or music or something like that, and they're cannabis users and they're advocates and they're in your generation. What would you say to them?